All right, hello everyone. I hope you can hear me well. And welcome to DevDive's April's session. This session is going to be presented by, it's mostly going to be about Studio Web and document understanding. And not just Studio Web for business users, but Studio Web and how it can be used in Studio and the new features that we're bringing into Studio Web that can correlate and help users more easily manage their projects and debug them. This session will be approximately 60 minutes. We will go through building an automation. We'll start a simple automation, then we're gonna go into something more complex, and at the end you have a Q&A session. Your hosts for today are gonna be Sylvain and Silviu. I know it's very similar, the names probably have the same name, just the one is from France and the other is from Romania. I'm Sylvia. I'm the product manager for Studio Web, and whenever you're giving any feedback on Studio Web on that little feedback form that we have online, know that I'm reading it. And I will answer to you if it's important and problematic. Though most of the time we get positive feedback. That being said, the way it's gonna go forward is that we're gonna show you a few things about Studio Web and document understanding. Then we're gonna build a very simple automation. Sylvain is gonna be the one who's gonna show you how you build it. He's gonna advance it. He's gonna try to make it into something more complex using our new multifile feature. And at some point, he will hand it over to me where I'm going to open it in Studio Desktop, make some modifications, and then go back to Studio Web. And at the end, I'm going to show you some nice new features from Studio Web that are upcoming. We have a poll and a couple of questions. Feel free to take a note of the quiz, and I think we can share it in the chat as well, this information. And finally, let's get to a short introduction about Studio Web. I think at this point, most of you.
We should keep. Will you keep the poll now to go through the Menti?
I was thinking that maybe we could paste the information for it in the chat, and we can carry on the presentation. I can keep the poll now.
Okay, perfect. Then we will carry on with the presentation and just share the poll in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, so just for everyone to know, please scan the QR code on screen to join the quiz room. And the presentation has already started, and you will find the first questions soon. So just scan the QR code on screen, and we will also share the link and the pass in the chat. But with the QR code on screen, you will get straight into the quiz room for the poll.
Give it a few seconds for everyone to check it out. All right, moving on. So if you're not familiar already with Studio Web, although most of you should be, Studio Web it's been released about a year ago. It was G8. It's our automation building tool that only needs a browser. So until Studio Web was around, how you build automations in Studio Web was you would have to download Studio Desktop, which only works on Windows, and you would have to start with it, and you have to install dependencies, and it was a bit of a complicated process. We need to simplify that. So we present to you now Studio Web, which pretty much does everything for you. You just have to search for what you want to automate, and it will start installing automatically the packages and doing most of the stuff for you with little effort. The catch is that in Studio Web, you can only build cross-platform automations. That means automations that work on Linux, Windows, and Mac. But they primarily work via automating browsers, Chrome browser, or of API integrations. We have lots of API integrations with Office, Google Docs, Amazon, Google Cloud. The list is Salesforce. The list is pretty huge. Going on, what's different about Studio Web again is that it's constantly updated. We have an update every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks usually.
Better.
Every 2 weeks, we have a new release of Studio Web with the latest features and bug fixes. And we also have, it can also be governed from automation ops. From automation ops, you can limit what your users, as an admin, you can limit what the users can build with Studio Web. And finally, what's really cool about Studio Web is also that you can build automations on your browser, but then you can run them locally on your assistant. So yeah, that is also possible. So for that, Studio Web, it's catering to a wide group of users, starting from business users who want to build simple task automations, to more advanced users who want to do more complex projects, IP integration specialists, and also orchestrated admins, because we offer a couple of features which are, and you'll see, are not Studio Web specific. They're studios. They're for the studio, so they work for both Studio Web and the desktop version of Studio. And this is what is one of the things that separates the UiPath from other tools. Most of the competitors, they have either a desktop tool or a web tool, or if you build on something on one of them, you cannot continue work on the other. In our vision, there is no really Studio Web or Studio Desktop. It's just the studios. And if you build something on Studio Web, you can continue building it on Studio Desktop. And if you start a cross-platform project in Studio Desktop, you can then upload it to Studio Web, save the cloud, and continue your work there, or debug it there, or quickly fix it there if you need it. So the two studios are interoperable. And finally, just as I was saying, we have this new feature that we're going to release probably in about a month or so, which is the new backstage for the studios. So every project, it doesn't matter if it's designed in Studio Web or Studio Desktop, if it's saved to the cloud, it has a new project lobby that we call, that kind of summarizes everything that's happening to that project. So you see all the jobs that's been running for 6 months back. You also have all the processes that have been developed from that project. You can run them, you can open them in Orchestrator, you can do a lot of things from this new project lobby. And there is also a surprise at the end I'd like to show you. Now, Sylvain, if you want, you can tell us a little bit more about document understanding. All right.
It's okay. It just I had someone had to unmute me, so I was able to speak. So thanks to the person who did it. Good. So hello everyone. Maybe before starting the document understanding presentation, I'm just going to introduce myself and also give you some context, because I see some people that I know in the meeting. So I'm Sylvain Boutié. I'm a UiPath Master Level professional. I've been using the UiPath tools for quite a long time. I started in 2016 working with UiPath, so it has been quite a long journey. And I used to be a developer, a business analyst, and now I'm more supporting citizen developers that are building their own automations. So that's what I'm doing right now. What I like about document understanding is that it's something that you can use as just a simple user of the platform, but also as a professional developer. So document understanding basically starts with a document that you're going to give it to it. But it could be like a very large range of documents that you can process using document understandings, and also including different languages such as English, of course, but Japanese, French, Chinese as well. And you can have different kind of documents that can be processed. You can have what we call the structured document, the semi-structured documents. So all of these documents that you have to process every day as a user, you can export the data, extract the data from this document using a document understanding. So the way it works is that you're going to give a document as input. This is the step one. And then the tool, document understanding, is going to be able to understand what is inside the document that you want to extract. So we have different machine learning algorithms that are going to be used. There is the one that is going to basically read the document and classify the information in the document and then extract the information from it. Which is really quite powerful, and you will find a lot of documentation and also a tutorial on how to use it and how it works on the internet. And after that, of course, you can have the human in the loop, so you can have a manual verification about the data that has been extracted. And you can also train your model. So you can use a predefined model, which is what I'm going to do in the demo, or you can also create your own model and train your own model, which is going to be tailored to, for example, the documents that you have in your own company. And what is great with this is that you can get some inputs that way. And then on the part 3, of course, you can use some automations. You can use these inputs from the document understanding tool and then use the Studio Web or the Studio to build your workflow and then to automate some of the tasks that are going to start once you have the data from document understanding. So here you have some examples of documents that can be processed by document understanding. The ID cards, passports are something which is quite used, for example, in the HR department. When you're doing the onboarding of a new employee, you can extract the data from these official documents automatically. You have the semi-structured documents, such as the invoices, receipts, POs, medical bills. Even though they don't have the same layout, even though they are coming from different providers, the tool is able to understand where is the PO number, where is the amount, even though it's not on the same position on the document. So this is also where document understanding can help you. And also for all of the unstructured documents. So here we go into like contracts. So these documents that are not structured, they are very different sometimes from one company into another, but they have always the same maybe block of text. It's just not in the same position. So this is also something that can be processed by document understanding. So we have a large range of document types that can be processed with document understanding.
This is going to be the use case we're going to present today.
So yeah.
Yeah. A user heard about document understanding. Sylvain, you can continue because you're going to start and show first. How it's going to be done.
Yeah, sure. So just to give you the context, this is a real use case, by the way. It's a use case that was shared to me by Christian, who is in the call. So if you see him, you can say hello to him. So he's a user who was using Studio X, and he built an automation on SAP. And probably you all have SAP in your organization. And automating SAP with UiPath is very easy. It works very well. But the challenge he had was that the data, the starting point of this process was to extract data from a PO. And so he reached out to me and said, hey, how can I get my data from the POs? Because what I noticed is that it's different from one document to another. So I'm struggling to use some of the Studio or Studio X activities to get this information. And this is what I'm going to show you today, how we can use document understanding to extract data from PO. But of course, we can do more than that. We can take this data, put it in an Excel, and we can, based on that, we can also add more steps in the automation workflow. So this is what I'm going to show you now. And I'm going to so it's a very simple use case that is going to be, I think, also interesting for the professional developers that are in the call, because you're not really used to probably use Studio Web, but you will see what are the similarities that you have on the Studio. So here you see I have my automation cloud platform. So I'm going to go and open Studio Web there. But before doing that, I just have access to OneDrive. So this is the Drive document, is a shared drive. I have all my POs there. So these are the POs that I'm going to use. These are the documents that I want to get the data from it. So basically, I want to get the vendor name. I want to get the order number, and same for the other one. So we have 2 different POs coming from 2 different providers. These are fake POs. So if you want to test on your end, you can just go on Google and you can download some of the templates. It's exactly what I did. So you can also test it on your end. So imagine that we need to get those information from these 2 purchase orders, and then we want to write them in an Excel. So this is an Excel, which is probably shared within the team. And I'm not the only one who's uploading PO data in it. So this is something that I would like to automate, right? So to do so, I'm going to go in Studio Web, which is very convenient because I don't need to install anything. So I just go to the cloud platform, I go to the Studio, and there I can create a new project. I'm going to start my automation manually. And here I can directly build my automation, right? So I'm just going to give it a name, of course. So I'm going to call it PO processing. And then what I want to do is very simple. I want to get those POs documents, which are in my drive, and then write the information after the extraction in the Excel. So I'm going to go in my drive. And of course, if I search for OneDrive, I will have all of the drive activities that are going to be displayed for me. So even though I'm not a professional developer, I'm going to be able to find exactly what I want to do. And in my case, I want to go through all of the POs that are in my folder that I just showed you. So I can use this activity. So for each file or folder, I'm going to select my drive. So I have two connections already established, but I'm going to select this one. This is my personal drive. This is the one that I just showed you, the chat drive. And then I just need to select the folder that contains my POs. So it's called, of course, PO. So this is the folder that I just showed you where I have my POs. So for each file, I want to extract the data from the PO. So this is where I'm going to use document understanding. And this is not difficult to find because I have access to it directly in the studio. You see, this is a document understanding activity. So I'm going to select my extract document data activity. And here, these are the two options that I mentioned. I can either use one of the predefined model, or I could maybe create my own model and then use it here. In this case, I'm going to work with something which is generic, purchase orders. So I'm going to use a predefined model from UiPath that has already been trained on a lot of purchase orders. So I'm going to select the extractor. So this time I'm not going to work with invoices, but for purchase orders, you see also the ID cards extractor. There are a lot of predefined models that you can use depending on what you want to do. And I'm going to use the purchase order one. And here you see all of the fields that are going to be extracted automatically by the document understanding tool. So the document understanding tool is going to give you the PO number, the date, the vendor name, and all of this information as well. So depending on what you're looking for, you can use one of the extracted fields. What is going to be the input file? This is very straightforward. You can see that the tool is also suggesting, thanks to AI, what should be the activity that you would like to use. In this case, it's a current item. If you're a developer, you know you are within the loop, so we are going to use the current item. But this is also what is suggested. So if you're not comfortable with the tool, you can also just use the suggestion, and probably it's going to be the right choice, like here. So I'm extracting my data, and then I want to write in the Excel. So I'm going to look for an activity to write the data, and I'm going to write a row because I have two columns. I have the PO vendor name, and I have the amount, the number of the PO. So that's why I'm going to write in two different columns. I'm going to select the right for activity. And here's the same story. I just need to select my connection first, my workbook, which is in my OneDrive. So you can see I have my folder PO, and here's my Excel that I just showed you before. I can indicate the range. So if I go to my Excel, I have a table inside. So I'm going to select this range. And then what I want to write, I want to append. So basically write at the end. There are already some rows in the Excel. So I want to write after those rows. I don't want to overwrite anything. So append is the right choice. And what I want to write, I'm going to use this option, which is my favorite, because it gives me the possibility to map to the column name, the header names in the document. So if I select this, you'll see that the tool is extracting automatically the name of my columns if I select true, which makes my life easier because I'm sure I'm not going to select the right column where I'm going to write the data. So I can just select this, update my fields, and here you see I have the two columns that I have on my G sheet, on my Excel. So in the column vendor name, I want to write what is going to be extracted from this activity. So you remember we have different fields that are going to be extracted. I'm going to use the one which is the vendor name. So I'm going to go to extract document data. And in the data, I'm going to select the one that is interesting for me, which is vendor name. And same for the PO number. So I'm going to select purchase order numbers. And that's it. This is how I can really quickly built a very simple automation, right, using this tool. And now I can test it. So I can run and I can go to my G Sheet. I just need to minimize my window because I cannot see my Excel. So I try to maybe move it to the left, but my bot is running at the same time. So I can do something else. All right, so the bot is running. The first part is still running, right? It's still going through the files in the folder. And you see the steps that are currently being processed. So first extracting the data. And this step is successful. So now I can go to my Excel and see what is inside my Excel. All right, now I can take it. I will just refresh it. So the first row was an example to see that everything is going to be written after. And you can see that we have the PO number from this document and also the name of the vendor. So that's the basic automation that shows what you can do on document understanding. So now Christian is super happy. He says this is exactly what he was looking for, but maybe now he wants to do a bit more because these POs are coming per email. So maybe you would like to add the steps before, like extracting the attachment from the email and then adding them to the drive. So let's also build these steps. So now we are really focusing on the automation part, how to retrieve those POs from an email. Imagine this is an attachment. So we are going to get an email. So let's take the most recent one on Outlook this time. I'm going to connect to my own Outlook for the demo. I'm going to go to my inbox because this is where I'm receiving my POs. And when I get my email, I want to save the attachment. So again, very straightforward. And I mean, if you're a professional developer, you also know these activities. They are more or less the same in the studio. So the email that I'm going to use is going to be the one which is going to be processed here. So it's also suggested. It's going to be this one. And what do I want to do with the attachments? I want to upload them to the drive. So I'm going to use an upload file activity, which is going to send the attachments to my drive. I just need to indicate the folder. It's going to be the PO folder like this. So now I have the full workflow. I can also just test it. So what I'm going to do is to delete this PO, and I'm going to send to me an email that contains this PO attached to an email. So I'm just going to open my email and I'm going to send this email to me, which is not something I do every day. But now it's going to be the first email in my inbox. So it's going to be the one that is going to be processed. So if I go back to the studio now, I can to the Studio Web. I can also run my bot again. I can click on test. And then I have an end-to-end automation, which is going to get the email that I received, get the attachment, upload it in the drive, and then writing it in the Excel as well. So this is a more advanced automation that combines Studio Web activities and also the document understanding activities. And of course, we can go much beyond than that. We can go on the web application, for example. We can go on web SAP. I mean, we can, of course, add more steps to this workflow. So same story, the bot is showing me what is going to be performed. Now I have these two POs. So if I go to my drive, if I refresh, I should also see the second PO that has been extracted from the email and added to the drive. And if I go to my Excel, I have these two new rows that have been added with the data. So this looks very good, but it starts to be quite a big flow, right? And if you're a professional developer, you know that it's a best practice to group some activities together to put them in a sequence. So this is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to create a sequence. I'm going to, for example, add in the sequence all of the extracting document data activities. So I'm adding them in the sequence here. I can rename my sequence, of course, and call it document extraction. And I could also do the same for the first part, which is the one of the email. So I can create a sequence and call it PO, PO document extraction. Let's put it like this. Good. So now I have a workflow that looks a little bit more professional, which is what you have. And what you can also do now on Studio Web is to extract some of the sequences as a workflow. So we can transform this automation in a multiple automation project. And that's just very convenient because as a professional developer, I'm used to do these kind of things, right? So I can create a new workflow. I can extract it. So this is the document extraction workflow. So I can click on create. And I can, of course, do the same for the other one. So you see here, we have the new workflow that has been extracted. So if I go back here, I have my main sequence, and I have my invoke workflow file activity with the different inputs there. So I can do the same for the first sequence. I can extract it as a workflow. And then I'm going to have now 3 parts in my project. All right. So I can go to the main. I have my first workflow file here and the second one in the loop. And I can, of course, if I want to go in more details, I can go to one of them here. The limitation that I have now is that I cannot really test it, right? Because I don't have any document where to extract, so I am not going to be able to test it. And also, if I go to the second one, Christian, who's the one who asked me to do all of this, he's telling me that I could also go a little bit beyond because he's getting these emails on a generic email account, so he's getting POs, but he would like the workflow to start automatically when a new email comes, right? So you know that you have some triggers on the studio. You can start the workflow when, for example, you receive a new email, when a new row has been added to a G sheet. But here, I'm not going to be able to find this trigger, get email. So here I'm a bit stuck because I cannot really continue going into much more details on my workflow. So what I'm going to do is to hand over to Silviu, but before that, of course, I need to share the automation, which is something which is super easy to do in Studio Web because you just need to click on the share button, and then you can just provide the name of the colleagues that you want to share the automation with, and click on save, and this is how you can save and share an automation. Good. So I hand over to you, Silvio.
Thank you, Sylvain. I will continue here. Now, Sylvain has shared the project with me, and before we had this demo, we also did something very intuitive in the sense that we also created a shared connection. This means that whatever file he's working on or email address he's addressing, I can also access from my account. And now I'm going to open the project from Sylvain. Sylvain, you have to close it, because otherwise it's only in read-only mode to prevent unhappy changes. And the limitation here is that I probably want to do something else than just to have a manual trigger. I want to use the same flow for extracting documents that I have here in document extraction. I want to reuse it in multiple workflows, but the limitation is that I have only one file here as a trigger. So if I'm going to publish this automation, I will only have, it will always fire from this main SAML workflow. But and in the near future, we're going to change that. You will be able to set other files to be entry points. That's how we call them. But right now, you can do this by opening the project in Studio Desktop. So I'll show you how this goes. So this is the file that was shared with me. I can go open in Studio Desktop. And you can see it automatically knows how to open it there. Notice I'm using a very fresh alpha build of Studio Desktop, so things may sometimes give errors. And now it's gonna open it here. It's gonna install dependencies, and I'll be able to edit the project in Studio Desktop. I'll give it a second. And there we go. It's open, it's loading. And now I can go here in View Document Processing. Right? And I can right click on this file and say Enable Entry Point. And that's pretty much it. And this is the file that was sent to me by Sylvain. Okay, let's check again. Make sure everything is okay. Probably here I should add a trigger as well, another manual trigger, so I can edit it later, because if it's an entry point, it should also have a trigger. And now that I'm done, I can go and save to cloud from here. If you noticed here down in the ribbon, save to cloud. In the near future, we're working on the ability to enable automatic save to cloud from Studio Desktop, and you will see later on why this is necessary. I'll save it again. And it works now. And I can close here. I'm done in Studio Desktop. Now let's go back here. Let's see if I can refresh and open it. The process, it looks like it's been edited 10 seconds ago. That means it's already saved in cloud. And I can open it here. And this is the new version. And if you look here at the file, at the XAML files, you see that now both files are marked as entry points. Now I can use, when I publish this automation, I can decide to make two processes out of the same package, even though they're the same code version. So, all right, let's leave the main as it is. This is my main file, which Sylvain has made. And now let's make this file that I had here. Let's change the trigger. Let's say a new email received. There we go. Make sure it's the right folder. And now I have to move my download file here. I don't need this document extraction. I have to put the email message here. Looks like it was still updating while I was trying to add more files. That's okay. All right. Recently, everything looks good. Right. And now I can see my process here. This is a manual trigger, this is automatic trigger. Now let's publish it. Let's publish it and see what happens. See, there is a little error here. So we can fix it. I'm gonna need a part. I think this is a problem with the package, but let's ignore that for now, and I'll show you how we should publish this at 2 entry points, because this is what I wanted to show you later. So let's say first publish. All right, and now I can go to Orchestrator. And in Orchestrator, you'll notice that because I published to my personal workspace, right, it's already published here. First publish description here, okay? Now, let's say I want to make different entry points for this. So to use the same package to create 2 processes, I need to go for a little bit different flow. And this is usually what you do when you publish something to production. You publish to the tenant process feed. So let's say public production version. Now we're publishing to production. And now I go to Orchestrator again. And when I create my processes, I can create multiple processes. I can have here set add process. I can have my latest file. And when I create the process, it allows me to select whichever automation, which file the automation to start with. So I can have the main one and create one process here. I can configure it here with all the files and folders. And then finally publish it. Let's give it name 2. Close. And then I can create another process also from processing, and with the add entry file, you can see here it shows that it has different information like you have here for making the other file work. So basically I have a single package and I can keep reusing different workflow files. Basically the workflow files end up being functions that I can just invoke whenever I want in the code. So that I can make a much more complex automation without recreating the same sequences again and again. Finally, I want to show you another benefit of saving everything to cloud, and it's the new backstage that we are going to implement in Studio. This is on alpha. I switched to alpha now, the alpha environment. And here I have the same automation that I imported a few days ago. Actually, I imported yesterday. And here we have the new backstage, which, as you can see, it's technically the same as the old one, where you had templates, projects, automation, runs, and connections. In the new one, you have a project lobby where everything is grouped on a particular project. So I have all the jobs that ran on this project. I have all the processes that have been created from this project. As you can see, one is in my personal workspace, like I just did one. I had one in personal workspace. One is in the shared one. It's a public one. I can view the details. I can go in Orchestrator if I want to see why this job has faulted. I can go in Orchestrator and I can see it here. And what I wanted to show is that this backstage lobby that you see here doesn't necessarily apply for cross-platform projects. So any project that you have your Studio desktop, you can save to the cloud. If it's not cross-platform, that's fine. We won't be able to open it in Studio Desktop when you'll try to Studio Web, sorry. When you'll try to open it, it will automatically open Studio Desktop. But all the processes and everything that's happened to it will still have the same project lobby that you have here, and all the information that you see have here. So it's a very easy way to see what's happening with your project, instead of keep going to Orchestrator and filtering things and figuring things out. You can see here at a glance what's happening. Furthermore, you can even configure it from here if you want to. If it's a personal automation, and it's much easier to do from here. And also, if you want to see a job history for a particular published process, you can also like filter all the jobs in this view here. So, and this project lobby is going to grow. And what I'm going to show you even further than this is if I go and open the project, also in a few weeks, every time you publish the project, we are going to save a version of the code for that project. So in this version, you see I published it a couple of times. I can publish it now again. And let's give it a go. And once it's published, it will appear in the publish history. And if you open that version of the code, it will, you see, I can see that older version of the code in read-only mode as well. So now I went to the previous version and I can see it in read-only mode. And we'll also add, when we release this feature, the ability from an older version of this project to create a new project so that you can patch something in production. So you say, now I have in production version 1.02. I've been working on version 1.010, maybe 1.02 now. That is 1.2. That is now the one in development. But I want to patch version 1.02. Then I can do this from here, from the backstage. I can create a new project from it. I can edit it, patch it, and then publish it back again and upgrade my processes. And it will know, Studio will know that it's part of a similar project. It's part of the same thing. Yes, these are the things that are upcoming. I hope you've enjoyed our session. I will now go back to our final poll, which is the poll at the end of the presentation, that you can tell us more about what you feel is missing from Studio Web, what you think should be improved, what are the new features that you would expect, and so on and so forth. Right, so now it's a Q&A session. If anyone wants to
if
go.
you can wait a bit, Silviu, because we will hold this poll live. So just keep a bit the screen, please.
Okay, no problem.
Until I prepare. Okay, and everyone, please scan the QR code on the screen to get into the quiz room. And shortly I will start sharing screen. I will just leave a bit the QR code on screen with Silviu. Maybe 1 more minute for you to get into the quiz room. And you have the access link and the code also in the chat if you want to join from your laptops. Let us know if you got into the quiz room. Okay, I think you are in the quiz room. Okay, let me share screen now. Okay, so the first questions we have, which I think it's an open answer. I think both questions, in fact, will be open answer. What do you feel is missing the most in Studio Web? So this is just a check-in with our audience to see, like, what is your current opinion? What do you feel is missing? Any impressions you have on Studio Web and the product completion? What we could do better? What would you need more from this product? And also based on your experience, of course, with the product.
Did you experience Studio Web, any of you, until now? How many of you have experienced Studio Web? I wonder. You can write in the chat if you want.
Yeah, tell us in the chat, like, how many of you already tried Studio Web? And you can also, yeah, of course, you can also write here because it's open answer. And I think you're allowed at least 3 answers. So just give us feedback. Okay, so we have workflow, need to evaluate, haven't used yet, need more experience. And we have a question.
Yes.
Would you like to address that, Silviu? About the
Well,
standard
yes.
template and framework?
Yes. Most standard. So everything that's cross-platform is part of Studio Web. I don't think reframework is part of Studio Web. I'm not sure what the question refers to be honest here. But the DU activities, all that's DU related, works in Studio Web just as well as in Studio Desktop. There is no difference between using DU activities in Studio Web versus Studio Desktop.
I will move now to the next slide to see what answers we get on our second question. Thank you all for the answers. Oh, we still have answers incoming. Okay, give us more answers, yeah. If you still have opinions on Studio Web.
I would like to see how data from your PO can be uploaded in SAP. We can try that maybe at a future session. We do have a connection, an API with SAP, and if you have SAP in cloud, then you can upload data via the API, via the integration that we have in SAP. And this integration in SAP is going to become a lot tighter in the future. So it's probably going to become even more easier than it is today.
We'll move to the next slide now. What prevents your company from adopting Studio Web as an important automation building tool? So this question is also open answer. So those of you who have tried it and those of you who have tried it enterprise can let us know what is preventing you from adoption. Any hindrance, any limitations you found, any problems placed like stated by the company maybe. So not enough awareness about the product. We're still using desktop version till now. Yeah, this is not a singular case. This is why we are checking with you and consulting you in terms of adoption. Any other answers?
Yeah, we know. Just wanted to say we know that it hasn't been talked a lot about not a lot of product awareness about Studio Web, but I think that the problem here is that there is this differentiation between Studio Web and Studio Desktop, and well, and it's true that Studio Web is more for light types of automations, but there is a lot of synergy between the two. And yeah, you should consider Studio Web as a complementary tool to Studio Desktop.
So we also have questions about security.
Well, if you're considering who can access the data in your DU projects, the reality is no one can. It's encrypted in our cloud, and if you have any further concerns about that, I mean, you can address them with our DU team, who knows better about that. But as far as I know, in terms of data security, we're as secure as you can get, and we have frequent like monthly security scans and security audits and data separation and so on between clients. So when you're referring to use cases where Studio Web can be utilized more, what exactly do you mean?
Is that more for the just the cloud connection kind of process, or even for the internal applications also can be used that one?
Mm. So the way you can use it with internal applications is also through cloud connections. For instance, if you want to manipulate data on your local machine, well, you would have to use something like Google Drive or OneDrive to synchronize that folder with the cloud, and then through the OneDrive or Google Drive service, you can manipulate the data on your local drive. Just to give an example, the same applies to Excel, PowerPoint, Word, and any other tool that we have. We interact with them via APIs. Then you can't run just local automation just on your machine for now, at least. The
So
type
how
of use
will
cases,
that? So
just
how
to give
will
it,
that automation run? Will it run on your cloud and the cloud, or will it run in our desktops?
yes. So for instance, imagine you want to manipulate add rows to an Excel file. The Excel file will be local on your machine. But as long as that Excel file, so as long as that machine is also connected to the Microsoft Cloud, yeah, to Microsoft 365, we can interact with that Excel file which is on your local machine via a Microsoft 365 Cloud, and we will manipulate and change things on your local machine using the cloud. Just to give you a couple, a very simple automation that I know has been successful and it's been replicated several times by our customers, is one where you use UI automation, because Studio Web has no problem to use UI automation in browser. So they read a website. Let's say you have to collect information from a website or an online form. Maybe you want to download documents from a website where you have them, and then you download those on OneDrive, on your local drive via OneDrive, or you extract the data and you directly write it to an Excel file. This is a very common use case. I use automation. I read the website with multiple lines, and then all that information I write to an Excel file, and that Excel file is actually stored on my local drive, but I interact with it via Microsoft 365. And I guess this is one of the most common use cases for I've seen Studio Web used.
Okay, so this is more like the Power Automate cloud version.
Yes, that would be correct. Yes.
Silvi, can you share again the screen now? And I think with Val, we can also move into Q&A now. Thank you all for the answers, very valuable answers for us. Thank you for taking the time. And let's see on Q&A now. What are your questions? Maybe next slide, Silvia. We also have some resources here. My colleague Anastasia will share them in the chat. I also shared previously the LinkedIn profiles of Silviu and Sylvain, so you can connect with our speakers today. And of course, we have the link to the Dev Dive series, so you can also save your seat now for the next event in May. And let's go to Q&A. Yeah, you can open up your mic, so anyone else who wants to ask a question to Silviu or Sylvain is more than welcome to do it at this point.
I'm gonna ask you what feature you'd like to see most in Studio Web.
Please unmute yourselves and feel free to answer. Let's have like a discussion for this little time we have left. Since we have Silvia and Sylvain here, I'm sure there are questions, and there's never a bad question or a wrong question. Or you can also, yes, you can also place your questions in the chat, so, or your answers, in case you don't want to go live.
And also in the meantime, maybe for information, I've seen that some of you are asking to have more awareness about Studio Web and also more information about the use cases that we can automate using Studio Web. So I think, Christina, this is something that we are all working on. As a collaboration between MVP and UiPath. There are some examples on the UiPath YouTube channel. There is one video that I recorded in the past, and there will be more that are going to be added. But maybe, Christina, you can say more about that.
Yes, I'm pretty sure, and I think all of you, those of you who are not familiar with the use case repository on forum, you can also search the use case repository on forum. I will share the link. And we also had, I think last month, we had a global series on Studio Web. So you will find a lot of information on Studio Web and of course demos and use cases as well in the Studio Web series. I will share both links now in the chat, just to have them as resources that you can take with you today. And I will also share some link on how you can get started for those of you who have not used it yet. Yes, we do understand that developers still prefer the Studio version, and you don't want, like, you're not really inclined to try Studio Web, but we strongly believe in it, and I think it's worth at least a try. And of course, any feedback is welcome after that. So let us know. I mean, if there are some of you who have tried it and like they know exactly what the limitation was, I think this is the best moment to have your voice and speak up. Okay, let me give you the links then for you to get some resources on your way out. Don't leave the session yet. And the main is still open in case you want to keep answering.
Will I be able to see the votes and the comments at the end of the session,
Yes,
Christina?
yes, absolutely, yes.
Awesome, because all your comments, I'm gonna take them as feedback, and we will see what we can do to improve things on the studio's side. Thank you very much for those comments and feedback.
Okay, so you have in chat now the use case repository on forum, and you also have the Studio Web series page, which you can attend now self-paced because it was already live, but you can still go through the series and do the training self-paced while being accompanied by Academy, of course. And now we have some questions in the chat. Is the feature of UiPath mandatory to go to Studio Web? A very visionary question, long-term vision.
Well, it's not mandatory, definitely not mandatory to go to Studio Web. Not now, not in the foreseeable future. But what's going to happen to Studio Web is that we are going to systematically add more and more features to it that would bring it a lot closer to what you can do in Studio Desktop. So as you can see, one of our latest additions was multifile, and that's a feature that's usually it's not even available in Studio X, but we have it on Studio Web. And we're going to add more and more features like that, which are generally reserved for pro developers. We're going to bring them to Studio Web as well. So we hope that there will be a feature where for some experienced developers, there'll be no need to install Studio Desktop. They can just use Studio Web and get most of the work done there.
Yeah. I have a comment from Juan. I asked this to know if it is necessary to instruct our development teams to focus on this for the future, if the desktop studio could no longer be used later.
Not for the foreseeable future. No, you can still have them focused on Studio Desktop to learn those tools there.
Yeah, it's a good alternative to try. So you have now like 2 more resources. I think a training video from Sylvain, and you also have the overview course from Academy, which any of you can take in order to get like your first glimpse and understanding of the product. We strongly recommend it. And remember the Studio Web series link, that's very valuable. If you actually plan to start training on Studio Web, you will have live sessions with training in that series. So with all the resources in the chat, I hope you picked up the links to keep them. Thank you all for joining us today. And thank you very much to Sylvain and Silviu and Sophia and Anastasia, my colleagues. And we will close it here. And hopefully we'll see you next month in the next Dev Dives. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.